Hi, I'm Juan, and this is my Brain on Sports. Earlier this year, I flew all the way to Florida to attend the Miami Open, and on the first day, bad weather caused play to be suspended and not a single match was played. Instead of going home, we enjoyed a different kind of day, and that ended up being one of my most memorable sports travel experiences. Here's why. Back in January, my partner Emily surprised me with a sports trip of my choice for my 30th birthday. Within reason, of course. To give you an idea of where my mind was, one of my top options was one of the March Madness Elite 8 games in Washington, D.C. Ultimately, I picked the Miami Open. One, because it's my favorite sport and the sport I've played my entire life, including back in college. Two, in recent years, I've developed an appetite for sports destinations, and major tennis tournaments like this happen to be hosted in really good vacation spots like Miami. And three, because I haven't really traveled far from Maryland and the Mid-Atlantic since I've been in the US. Before the Miami Open, I had only seen top-level professional tennis in three other cities: Bogota, Washington, D.C., and New York. And other than the 2 times I traveled by train to New York for the US Open, this was my first time flying out to a professional event. So the anticipation was real. That, and the fact that this was my first vacation in Florida, almost made it feel like we were planning a trip to Disney World. Not to mention, we were in need of some tropical weather after a few winter months where we live. For this trip, we had tickets for 2 of the earlier days of the tournament. In our case, it meant that we would see matches mostly from the first round. For context, the entire tournament lasts 2 weeks, and there's a total of 7 rounds, counting the final. The tickets that we purchased were grounds passes, which give you access to all courts in the complex, with the exception of the main stadium. So that gave us a total of 9 courts to see. We've gone for stadium seats in the past, but I feel like it's only worth it if you're attending rounds like the quarterfinals or beyond, or if you're really trying to see one of the big names. The outer courts tend to feature more even matchups in terms of level, which makes for more competitive and unpredictable outcomes, and therefore more entertaining tennis. It's also worth mentioning these were all-day passes, which gave us access from 11 a.m. to around 10 p.m. Because this is a men's and women's combined event, we were expecting 30 matches total to choose from each day. We knew the chance of rain was high going into our first day at the Miami Open, but we thought that if we could at least see one match, then we would get our money's worth. Once we got there, it seemed that the rain would be light enough for the courts to stay dry and playable, or that there would be at least one big enough window of dry weather to see some tennis. Unfortunately, we got on and off showers throughout the day, and despite attempts from the tournament staff to get the courts ready, all the matches kept getting pushed back. Eventually, heavy rain would cause all play to be suspended for the day, and we would go home empty-handed. So why was this day so memorable? While we waited for the weather to improve, we looked for other things to do. Luckily, the showers were light enough, so we were able to walk around the campus for most of the day. Since this was our first time at the Miami Open, we took our time exploring what the tournament had to offer beyond just tennis, such as the shops, the food vendors, and sponsor activations. We also checked out some of the fan experiences, like the gondola rides overlooking the Hard Rock Stadium complex, the music performances, the tennis art, and the lounge areas. And of course, tons of views of the Dolphin Stadium and the Formula One track, which are just the cherry on top for any sports obsessed attendee like myself. We even watched a few players try to squeeze in some practice time on the wet courts, which turned out to be unexpectedly entertaining. Normally, having an event delayed or suspended because of bad weather will feel like a massive disappointment, or even a waste, especially if you're traveling. Surprisingly, that wasn't the case for me. Knowing that I'd be back the next day took some of the pressure off. In retrospect, instead of focusing on just one aspect of the event, if we had only followed the matches, we were forced to be creative with how we spent our time waiting, and we let our curiosity lead the way as we explored the campus. We shifted from a mentality of maximizing our time rushing from match to match to intentionally absorbing everything that makes the Miami Open culture so rich and different from other tennis tournaments. And because of the variety of things that we were able to see and do, it almost felt like we spent the day at a theme park, but for sports fans. I appreciate how much I was able to be present that day, getting a deeper sense of the sports culture at the Hard Rock Stadium complex and the unique and unexpected memories I made that day. Having our plans change and still being able to reimagine our experience on our first day at the Miami Open is the perfect example of why I decided to explore sports culture in this way, through a personal, experiential, and cultural lens. It gives me an opportunity to consider aspects of sports that go beyond the obvious, like competition and performance. I also get to share my personal stories, how I think, and how I approach things, which you may relate to, get inspired by, or even disagree with. And it's a way for me to reflect on how I discover and create meaning out of all the things that sports has to offer. After all, I'm fascinated by all sports and the cultures around them. All of them different, each with its own unique and unexpected ways of giving meaning to the lives of everyone who participates in them. So even though our first day at the tournament was nothing like what we hoped for, the fact that we turned a failed sports day into more of a cultural one made the whole experience feel more personal and authentic. Honestly, this story was the first to come to mind when thinking of video ideas from our trip, which shows how much I value this side of sports. Next time you're at a sports event, I encourage you to see past the obvious and find unexpected ways to make your experience more authentic, personal, and memorable. And in case you're wondering, yes, we ended up seeing over 10 hours of amazing tennis the next day, and some more the day after that, thanks to the Miami Open exchanging our rained out tickets for free. But that's a story for another video. If you like this story, like this video so that more people can enjoy it as well, and subscribe to my channel for more of my brain on sports. See you next time.